Well, welcome to H360 Health Talk. My name is Dave Duplay. Thank you for joining me today. I'm joined here with Dr. Jay Talsania from Lehigh Valley Health Network and our old friend Dan Dillard from the Burn Prevention Network. Today we've got a very interesting topic we're going to talk about because summer is here, the weather is getting great, and 4th of July is right around the corner. Now for me, that has always meant hot dogs and fireworks. Today we want to talk about fireworks, safety of fireworks, the importance of understanding what can happen when things go wrong with fireworks, and we really want you to pay attention to this show because almost every picnic that I've been to, starting from a little kid, there's always been some level of firework involved. Now, it's better if you go to see fireworks by the professionals, and we're going to hear that today in spades. But we really want to dig in because this is an important issue. So Dan, thanks for joining me. Dr. Jay, thanks for joining us here today on Health Talk. I want to start by talking about some of the rules because it's my understanding that there's been some legislation change around fireworks. Particularly, I think the state of Pennsylvania might have some new regulations. I'm sure they're not the only state in the union that has addressed this issue, but what are some of the regulation changes that you see going on?
Sure. First of all, Dave, let me thank you for introducing me as old, which is self-apparent to all the viewers here. Pennsylvania, a year ago, established a new set of laws regarding consumer sale of fireworks. And what we're anticipating is what history has shown happened between the states of South Carolina and North Carolina. South Carolina has about 58% of the population of North Carolina. And their fireworks law is very similar to the new law just passed in Pennsylvania, which extends and expands the quantity and variety of fireworks that consumers can now sell. In comparison to North Carolina, which has a more restrictive law, similar to the ones that were in place previous years in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. What we have found is with that 58% fewer people in South Carolina, the fireworks-related incidents that showed up at hospitals and emergency departments were 156% higher in the smaller state than they were in North Carolina.
156%.
156% greater because of the difference in the laws. So that's an indicator to us, a predictor of what is likely to happen in Pennsylvania. So the injuries are almost assuredly going to increase, and Dr. Talsania can respond to that because he's the one who sees the worst of them.
So if I understand you right, it's the new legislation deals with quantities and types of fireworks that now the average person can go and procure.
Right. You can now, as a consumer, go and buy some really high-powered pyrotechnics at these pop-up tent sites or at brick-and-mortar stores that up through the end of 2017 you could not get. And people jumped at that opportunity.
Yeah. But I wouldn't imagine that it's not just these high pyrotechnic fireworks that can wreak havoc on somebody. I mean, you think about the little sparklers, right, that you see the little kids running around, you see those sparklers in their hands. Those can even cause a problem.
Yes, I mean, by statistics, the smaller firecrackers do as much damage as the larger ones. The problem I see it as, you used to be able to drive to South Carolina and bring it back, and people now get the impression that it's safer. We're seeing more injuries and more frequently, and you had alluded to every day, almost every day in the summer, you hear fireworks in Allentown. And every day we're seeing people come into the emergency room with injuries ranging from fingertips to complete loss of their hand.
Now, are there typical groups that are at more risk than others? If you look at some of the injuries,
Yes.
You know, how does that, I mean, you see these people coming into the emergency room right, that need immediate attention. Are they young? Are they old? Is it a mixed bag?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think the more devastating injuries are the 20-year-olds to 40-year-olds, and unfortunately have alcohol on board when they light these off. And then there's the younger kids. I'd say about a third of them are under 15. I've had a patient who was just playing in his backyard and the neighbor threw one in and he picked it up accidentally and lost his fingertip. He had nothing to do with it. He just picked it up out of curiosity.
So Dan, what are some of the other things that people need to pay attention to? I'm not naive enough to know that everybody that watches this will stop procuring fireworks and having entertainment, but what are some of the things that we need to really pay attention to here?
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, Dave. Obviously, I think both Dr. Talsania and I, our message to consumers is leave the show to the pros. There are wonderful fireworks displays in communities throughout the country, and it's not hard to go and enjoy the 4th of July that way. And there's a reason why the people that are handling and detonating these pyrotechnics are professionals and they're licensed. It's because these are very, very dangerous explosives, and they have the potential to do tremendous damage. That said, we do live in the United States of America, and we protect our freedoms for all they're worth. And telling someone you may not explode fireworks in your yard is not likely to either be popular or deter. So, if you're going to use fireworks, one needs to be cognizant of the fact that there are things you can do to prevent or at least reduce the incidence of traumatic injury. We'll get into that, I'm sure, as we go through the conversation, but first and foremost is children should never have any involvement whatsoever in exploding fireworks or even handling fireworks. And I'll pick up on the comment about sparklers made earlier. Sparklers burn at approaching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than a blowtorch. I don't think any of us would say, here, Susie, would you hold my blowtorch while I go get a beer?
Right, right.
It's not going to happen. 50% of the fireworks-related injuries to children 5 and under are from sparklers. Most everyone considers sparklers innocuous. They're safe.
That's right.
No one's going to get hurt, but they do.
Yeah, that is the one that you see the most, the youngest children running around waving that sparkler and burning at that intensity.
It's not it's not just the contact burn, it's the clothes that can catch on fire as well.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So yeah, so not just dropping it on their skin, but dropping it on their clothes, and then all of a sudden you have a fire ignite.
Yes.
Now, being on the healthcare side of this conversation, are there certain types of injuries that you see more of than others?
Yes, amputations.
Full amputations.
So from fingertip amputations all the way to wristless articulations, it depends on the size of the device.
So when somebody comes in and they're missing a finger or multiple fingers or half of their hand, what's the protocol? I mean, obviously, you look at that and
first at a trauma center, it's your ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. Make sure that they're stable. Some of these are very big injuries, but then after that, you also want to assess their eyesight, their hearing, and then it's what's alive, what can we reconstruct, what can we salvage. A lot of pieces are missing. They're left in the field, or they don't have a blood supply. And I had mentioned to you earlier, it's almost like the old cartoon cigar that blows up at the end. That's what some of the fingers look like, and sometimes the hand looks like, and you have to decide what can we salvage to hopefully maybe protect the thumb or some kind of opposition for them.
Do you see a lot of younger children coming in?
Yeah, fingertips from firecrackers, and those are the small firecrackers don't take off the whole hand, but they take off fingertips. And especially if it's a thumb, it can be quite devastating if someone loses a thumb just before this joint. it'll change the way they do things for the rest of their life.
Now, so Dan, what are some of the final thoughts or points that you want to leave everybody with as we approach the 4th of July weekend, and there's going to be family, barbecue, alcohol, and fireworks?
I think people generally want to enjoy themselves and enjoy being with their families. And I think that's at the core of what makes us want to celebrate our freedom in this country. If you want to continue to enjoy your family and their health, you need to think about the things you do that could jeopardize that. And the momentary rush of adrenaline and excitement of setting things off in your backyard really don't outweigh the loss of digits, hearing, sight, a serious burn. It's not worth it.
I would add to that the one thing that patients have in common when you treat them over the next 6 weeks, 6 months, year is regret. It was one moment in time that changed their life, and if they could have that back, but I hope this show people will learn, and if it saves some kids from getting hurt or some adults from getting hurt, it's worthwhile. Our American Society for Surgery of the Hand basically says leave it to the professionals, as we talked about, and no kids.
I think that's really good advice. Leave it to the professionals. We're not naive. There will be fireworks at many picnics. Be safe. Follow these rules. An accident can happen in a split second that can change your life forever. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today. Dr. J, thank you for joining me. Dan, thanks for joining us once again. And we hope you all have a safe summer season.